Okay, we're letting everybody in. Another minute. I see some people coming in.
Hello, everybody.
Morning.
All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our July Lunch and Learn. Thank you for spending this hour with us. I want to welcome everybody who has not attended prior. My name is Jonathan Porges. I'm your Chamber Market Manager for Boynton Beach, and welcome to our Lunch and Learn with Eric today. Before we kick it off, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items. The presentation will be recorded and we will be able to send it to you after. So in case you missed something or you'd like to review it, that will be available to you. You'll receive an email from me later this afternoon. We would also like to hold all the questions to the end. Eric has a dedicated point in the presentation when he would like questions answered. So we'll do that at the end of the program. And also please stay throughout because Eric has 2 gift cards to raffle off at the end. So make sure you stay through the whole presentation to be eligible to win it. Must be present to win. With that, I'm going to kick it over to Larissa from I Think Financial. She is the sponsor of today's program. And so with that, Larissa, let me bring you right up.
Good morning, afternoon, everybody. As most of you know me, my name is Larissa Nazda. I'm the branch manager at the Boynton Beach location of the I Think Financial Credit Union. We are open for business at this point, ready to help, ready to serve, get you away from those big banks that did nothing for you during the PPP loans, or anything that you have problems with. You know, fees, we have fee-free checking accounts, savings accounts, anything you ask for, we got it, we can help you with. Message me or give me a call if you guys need anything. Thank you.
I just want to shout out to Larissa. She came through with flying colors, and I opened up a bunch of accounts with her. So you got to do it.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, great. So with that, I'm going to introduce our speaker today so we can keep on time. In the fall of 2006, Eric converted his passion for technology into a budding IT career as an intern for a South Florida information technology company specializing in architecture and maintaining information systems for small and medium-sized businesses. By the end of that 2006, Eric earned his bachelor's degree in business administration and business administration and management information systems from FIU. In the years since, he has transformed his continued passion for business and technology into a successful career as both an expert in information systems, and in 2014, he created his company, Simple IT for You. Since then, Eric has become passionate about entrepreneurship and is part of several other businesses. Additionally, Eric loves education and has maintained industry dominance through continuing education and certificates. Eric has a master's degree in MIS with a specialization in information security from Nova Southeastern University. Eric is also a Rotarian and a board member of the YMCA of South Palm Beach County. On a personal side, Eric is an Ecuadorian, a soccer fanatic, amateur reader, avid thinker, and loves helping and connecting people. And one heck of a nice guy for sure. So with that, Eric, I'm going to turn it over to you. Let me make you a co-host here so you can share your screen. There you go. And the presentation is all yours.
Sounds good. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity. Good afternoon, everyone that attended. Thank you for your time today. I'll share a little bit about my background. I come from Ecuador. I was raised by a single mother. She's been my best friend, my mother, and my dad. I come from humble beginnings. I was very insecure when I started growing up. I used to live with my sister. Long story short, my sister moved here to the States. When she moved here, I was lost, right? I was really lost. I didn't know what to do. My mother was traveling a lot for work, and I felt lonely, and it was really tough. And then how I got into this world, I finally got a father figure, my brother-in-law. So he comes in and I kind of follow his footsteps. He was in IT, and now it's a privilege that, based on what he did, I always knew what I wanted to do. And now I get to secure information for people. So that insecurity is for sure gone. So that's a little bit about my background. Today, I'm going to talk about cybersecurity. Hopefully you guys get to learn a little bit. Just kind of like the agenda is I start with a video because I want you to see how an attack gets perpetrated in a network. That will give you an idea of how it happens and what you click and things like that. Then I'll go over my presentation, and at the end, we'll have some time for some questions and things like that. So I'll start. I'm going to share my screen, so give me a second.
Let's talk about Emotet malware, among the most costly and destructive attacks affecting businesses right now. And more importantly, let's talk about how to stop it. Emotet is a mature, regularly updated, shape-shifting series of techniques that began life 5 years ago as a banking Trojan and has now evolved into an entire platform for launching attacks. Due to its polymorphic nature, it's impossible to consistently identify Emotet. In fact, in the last 2 weeks of January alone, Sophos Labs saw around 4,500 different unique Emotet payload executables. So while it's constantly changing, it generally infiltrates a business in the form of a phony email message, and once it makes its way onto a machine, its first course of action is to spread around the network as widely and quickly as possible in order to maximize its impact and to keep reinfecting machines after they've been cleaned up. It then will send out malicious emails in order to infect other organizations, causing reputational damage to the source organization. Then, as a primary infection technique, it'll call home and download a malware payload of some type. Often these are banking Trojans, with one called TrickBot being the most prevalent. TrickBot injects code into your web browser that waits for you to log into bank accounts or PayPal accounts, and then steals your money. Some variants also contain a data breach element, which skims email addresses and names to later be sold off as future targets of spam campaigns. Others breach web security to steal browser histories, usernames, and passwords. And for a maliciously elegant dismount, Emotet can be used as a smokescreen to deliver targeted ransomware attacks. While an organization is busy dealing with initial Emotet infections, ransomware like BitPaymer can be deployed to hold the organization's data hostage. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security says Emotet infections can cost state and local governments up to $1 million per incident to remediate. So Emotet is a nasty, multi-pronged, ever-changing attack. It only needs to be able to infect one machine. It constantly evolves. It keeps reinfecting, and it does a lot of damage. So how can it be stopped?
Okay, so that's the video. Now I started the presentation. That's usually how an attack gets infiltrated in the network. So I'll talk a bit about cybersecurity and see how we can give you some tips on how we can help you. All right, so the first thing you need to do is you have to have all your bases covered. What does that mean, right? It means that when something happens, you have somebody to call. And typically that's somebody in your company, it's yourselves, or it's an IT provider that you work with. Simplify is one of them. It's an IT provider. The presentation is not about us. It's just making sure that you have somebody and you have a system in place that, you have 24/7 support. Things can happen at any time, that you have a system where they can connect to your machines, that somebody's taking care of all your backups and your network administration, just somebody to call. You have to have a system in place. For us, we call that kind of like permissions to play. If you need anything, we're there for you. On-site support, you name it. So that's kind of like the first thing covered in cybersecurity. So picture this, right? It's Friday afternoon. It's been a hell of a week. It's been a crazy week, right? You had to let go of a couple employees. You're having a terrible day. You get on your car. 5 o'clock, you leave the office and you get on your car. Right? And you start that car, and there's a sound. It just won't start, and you're like, "Oh my God, what a day!" Right? So after 3 attempts, you finally get it started. You put that car in reverse. You start, drive and you start driving. All of a sudden you hit a pothole. And now the car is not aligned properly. It's shaking. It's giving you problems. First rain of the season comes up. Now you turn the windshield wipers and it's all buggy and stuff. You can't really see. You're like, what a day. Then the check engine light comes up. You're like, oh my God, what else can happen to me today, right? Finally, when you're about to go home, you get home, the low fuel comes up. You're like, oh my God, what a day, right? So finally you get into your car, you get in your garage, you close the garage, you go inside, and all of a sudden you smell this nice dinner, right? And your significant other greets you and, honey, you're home, and gets you like a nice margarita or cold beer. And you're like, wow, let's watch a movie and enjoy dinner. You go to bed. Is it fair to say the last thing in the world you're going to be thinking is on that car that's on the garage with all those problems, right? I think it is. Most of the times people, if I'm in a room, they'll say, yep, last thing in the world I'll think is of that. So now picture this. You're sleeping, and then a NASCAR crew type comes in and races the car and does a 300-point inspection, fills that car with gasoline, washes it, aligns the tires, does everything perfect for you. So when you go back Monday morning to work, that car is flawless and takes you right there to work safe and sound. So we do that, right? But obviously not for cars, right? So you need to have a system in place that does that for your systems, for your computers, so that they're taken care of 24/7. That when you go home, somebody comes in, this NASCAR crew makes sure that all your systems are up to date, that your spam filtering controls for your emails are up to date, that those disks are spinning right, all the things that are part of making sure that you have good maintenance in IT. So that's the second step that you have to take when it comes to this whole IT cybersecurity. A lot of the things that people don't realize is a lot of the weaknesses or liabilities come from the way you manage relationships, right? Picture this, right? Like, when was the last time AT&T or Comcast call you and said, hey, you know what? We noticed your bill and you've been overpaying for 3 years. And now we have a better service and it's actually lower. So make sure that you're doing annual audits with your providers. A lot of the copier companies, I've seen there's a lot of weaknesses or liabilities because they're not keeping the systems up to date. Just like you have an iPhone and that iPhone says, hey, you're missing an update, or you got to update to the latest version. Same things with copiers. Copiers need to be updated because constantly the manufacturers will find weaknesses based on attacks that they get, and they have to be updated. Same thing with the websites. Make sure that there's patches updated. If you use a lot of companies nowadays use a technology web-based called WordPress to do their websites. Make sure that you have those plugins updated. Make sure that your applications are updated. A lot of the times, most companies really use QuickBooks, which is like an accounting. Make sure that accounting software is up to date, right? So make sure that you have a good vendor management system. A lot of the times it's people don't think of that, or companies don't really think about that, but that's something to consider. Dark web monitoring. For those that are not familiar for the dark web, picture the Amazon or the eBay of bad stuff. If you need a kidney, you can buy a kidney. If you need to hire a professional assassin, you can go there and hire one. If you need drugs, you get the point, right? You can buy anything you want, including information about companies and including information about people like you and me. So make sure that you're monitoring this. A lot of the times what happens is you'll go into this website called, I don't know, buyashirt.com, right? So you want the shirt that sells at buyashirt.com. And you create a password on that account. And now that company gets hacked and gets breached along with another 100,000 users that bought the buyashirt.com. So now that password that you put for that account goes into the dark web. The problem here is that the odds are that you're going to be using that same password across multiple systems. So you'll use the same password for American Express or bankofamerica.com, or if you do payroll, ADP.com, and guess what? They're able to access that information. So make sure that you're monitoring your domain. Domain means your company.com or your domain, and your personal emails as well, to make sure that any information that goes there, it's safe. Now, keep in mind that a lot of the companies that offer you protection, you just got to make sure that the protection that it's been offered offers the legal protection, because at the end of the day, you have multiple identities, right? You have your social security number, you have your credit card information, you have your health insurance information, you have your auto insurance information. There's so many things that can be stolen. So just make sure that you're keeping an eye on this and you have some good dark web monitoring. Internet culture, right? So there's going to be a few websites that come in, and obviously it's not presential, so I can't hear you, but the question would be, what do these websites have in common, right? You have Facebook, Netflix, Pandora, Monster.com, iTunes, YouTube, and a pornography website, right? So, depending on where you are, if you're at home and not, then, some of these websites can be considered, recreational. But think about when you're at the office, right? The whole purpose of this is that you got to create an internet culture in your company. What does that mean? It's kind of like a two-edged sword, right? Number one, it's time wasters, right? If I'm on Facebook all day long, I'm wasting time, but I'm also taking the resources and the bandwidth from our network for the people that are trying to do their job, right? So that's bad. But also, Monster.com, if I have somebody in the receptionist area, I don't want them to be looking at Monster.com and looking for the next job while I'm paying them, right? However, if I have an HR team, I do want them to be using Monster.com because they're looking for the next talent that's going to come into our offices. Same thing with Facebook. The marketing teams creating social media campaigns to get us new clients, new things like that. But the rest of us, we don't need it, right? So make sure that you're creating an internet culture in your network to protect and allow those ones that are actually working. Now let's take a look at backups, right? Backups. There's some major issues with the backups, right? The main one is basically most companies use a legacy technology. It's old. You still have Susie going to the break room where there's this hard disks and they're switching hard disks all day long or every night. But think about compliance, right? What all the data is on those drives. So you got to protect that, right? So that's not good. Number two is a human-based process. What happens if Susie misses the day off? Susie's on vacation. Who's going to do it? Then you got to train Patrick from accounting to do the backups, right? So you don't want to do that. Number three, the problem is that most of the times when an actual catastrophe or disaster or something happens, there's a spanning between backups. What does that mean? You take a backup tonight, you come into work tomorrow, there's no backup. The last backup was from last night. What happens if 3 o'clock something happens? The server crashes. Or what happens if there's at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, there's a fire in the building, right? You lose at least 24 hours of work. And just think about it, right? Like if you're in accounting and you wrote 200 checks and you had to put 300 time entries and all those things in your systems, good luck thinking of what you did. Just recreate. I can even think of the last 10 emails I sent this morning, right? So it's just making sure that you have good backups. The time to restore, that's the key here. We have backups that are $10 a month, unlimited data. You back up as much as you can or as much as you want. It's great, it's inexpensive. But the time to restore is the problem, because if you want to restore all that data, it's going to take us 12 to 18 hours. So you have to find a return on investment on your backup solutions, right? Because if you have one employee, if you work solo, then the odds are that you'll be okay waiting 12 to 18 hours. But if you have a company that you have 30 employees, and those 30 employees, let's say you pay them a minimum average of $10 an hour, you're losing $300 an hour, right? Just by at least, right? Because that's just like your cost, because you're not counting, the building, you're not counting the internet, all the services, all the stuff that you have to count in, or the money that you're losing in productivity because you're not producing, right? So that's a good, you have to have a good calculator in your mind when you're selecting a backup. It's not compliant. It's not a business continuity, right? What does that mean? You have a backup. When as soon as a disaster happens, you go into business continuity, because how are you going to operate while you have that disaster, right? So you got to continue operations. So that's the business continuity part. And disaster recovery means, how do we recover to go back to normal? And lastly, there's no reporting. There's plenty of times that we go into a client and they're like, yeah, we have backups. Backups are great. And when we ask them, hey, when was the last time you tested this backup? It's not working. I don't know. I don't even know that we had to test. So we got 2 poll questions that I forgot to ask for one, but we can ask the 2 of them right now. That would be great. The first one is, do you know if your information is being sold on the dark web? And the second one is, when was the last time you checked your backups? Was it 2 months ago? Was it 4 months ago? 6 months ago? So we got 9 of 16 people voted, and well, 11. So most of you don't know, and test the backups 2 months ago. That's not that bad, actually, right? So you want to make sure that you're constantly testing that information. Okay, so we'll continue. So make sure that you're covering all these things when selecting a backup solution. We think it's time for a new approach, actually, right? When we do a survey, about 5,000 people were surveyed, 5,000 companies or 5,000 administrators were surveyed. They come up that one out of 3 organizations fell victim to a cyber attack between 2019 and 2020. And the numbers just keep increasing. Problem was that out of those attacks, 2 successful attacks were on average. And when you were attacked, there was a 10% experienced 4 or more attacks. It's kind of like what the video, right? It shows that it starts with an email, and then from the email, it spreads to the computers, and from the computers to the servers. So picture that, 4 attacks going on at the same time, and they don't even know it, right? The other problem that they have is 9 out of the 10, they said that they were running up-to-date cybersecurity systems. The problem with cybersecurity nowadays, it's no longer, yes, I am going to have a good antivirus on my computer and I'm set, or everything's on the cloud and I'm covered. It's a problem, and you have to take it very serious. Your most critical asset in your companies is your data, and you have to do what you have to do in order to protect it, right? The whole idea of data, it comes from a CIA model, nothing to do with the CIA, but it's just the C starts for confidentiality. That means it's confidential, and only people that need to have access have access. Integrity, that the data is 100% accurate as it has to be, right? It's not the same when you have $1,000 or $10,000. It has to be with integrity, and it's available. Available means that you can access it, the right people can access it when they need it. So that's what you have to make sure that you're covering. 1 in 4 victims have to pay the ransom. For those that are not familiar with ransom, it's basically they take your data hostage. A hacker comes in, takes your data and locks it, puts it in a little lockbox. When you try to access it, it tells you, I'm sorry, your information is encrypted. If you want it, you got to pay me. If you want to pay me, this is how you send me the information. It's not trackable. Picture when you see the movies, right? Somebody, hey, I gave you who I kidnapped, you give me the money. It's kind of like the same thing, but you can't track it. So make sure that you have a good cyber liability insurance. Talk to your insurance broker. Make sure that you have that now. It should be a must for all companies. And make sure you're protected, because if you don't, the other problem that you're going to have is, okay, I plenty of cases that I go to companies and they're like, yeah, it's great. I have cyber insurance, so I don't need all this stuff, all right? The problem is when that happens and you don't have all this stuff, all this protection, that shows that you didn't care, right? So if you show no care, the insurance company is going to tell you no pay, all right? So you have to make sure that you're implementing protocols to protect your data. So I keep reinforcing that, because that's basically what we do, and you must make sure that you're protecting it. So how big of a problem is this ransomware, right? I don't know if I thought that was funny, right? So it's $1 billion. That's usually how much companies are paying every year related to ransomware. So the numbers are just outrageous. So how do you protect this, right? Because it's overwhelming, right? Just picture it. At the end of the day, it's just a system, right? What's a system? It's a set of things working together as part of a mechanism or interconnecting network. We're all part of the system. Your employees, your mobile devices, your servers, your printers, your access points, anything that touches your internet, your websites, they're all part of the system, and you have to protect it. So how does this happen? Kind of like what the video shows. The first thing that they're trying to do is like they're phishing, right? They're throwing bait at you and see if you fall for it, right? They'll send you an email, so that way if you click on it, they'll send you a malicious URL, so you click the wrong thing. They want to take control. Once they do that, they're trying to exploit it, right? And they're going to try to steal credentials. They're going to try to run stuff in your network at an administrative level for the end goal. At the end of the day, it's a business for the hackers. They want to take your data, they want to hold your hostage, and they want to attack, right? Like I'll give you an example. The Target breach a few years ago, which ended up costing them millions of dollars. How it happened was that there was an HVAC company, an AC company went in-house to a Target location, and they asked them for the password to connect to the wireless. As soon as that computer hit the wireless, it spread malicious code, and they never found out until it was too late, right? So these things happen, right? A lot of the times, you go in and you'll buy something really cool off eBay that allows you to turn on and off the switch of your lamp, right? You have a lamp at home and you want to turn it on and off with the phone. That's amazing, right? It's technology. People don't know that that's a little computer. So if you're not constantly updating it, through that they can access your network and hack it. So something very simple and that you pay $10, $15 can end up costing you your business. So it's all those things. Hopefully you listen to these things and you're like, oh my God, I got to think of that. So what's the solution to that? That just create a separate network for your Internet of Things. Internet of Things, at the end of the day, it's any technology that connects to your wireless or that you play with it, your Nest thermostat, anything like that. Right? All right. So how do most attacks get in, right? Believe it or not, through email. Everybody has seen it. Hey, I know I'm very busy today. Can you buy some gift cards for me and ship it to the clients to this address? Or can you, do this wire if you're in the mortgage industry? It was on the Palm Beach Post a few months ago, maybe a year ago, that this couple have saved for their wonderful home, their dream home all their life, and they have the life savings, and it's great. They're going to buy a home the day before. The closing company emails them saying, hey, you got to wire the money to this address. Next day, they go to the closing, they wire the money, they go to the closing, and they said, hey, where's the check? What do you mean the check? You told me to wire the money. So it was a fraud, and they lost the house, they lost the deal. So very heartbreaking story, but it happens. So you have to be very careful. You go to the web and you're thinking you're on American Express, but you're on americanexpress.com.ru in Russia, and you don't even notice that. Or software vulnerabilities, you're not patching. Believe it or not, you go to a lot of these companies and there's software to read PDFs. And when we go there, they're like let's pretend that we're on version 11 and now they're still on version 3. That's a huge vulnerability. And number one of the biggest costs, believe it or not, is USB external devices. Now we don't have many because obviously the pandemic, but you go to trade shows and they give you this USB. A lot of the times that USB has information in there that it's meant for attacks. A lot of companies, big companies or corporations, they get targeted and they'll leave USBs on the parking lot laying around. And one employee will come in, oh, today's my lucky day. Look, there's a USB right there. I got one. And then as soon as it connects on the network, boom, done. It spreads the malware. So you have to be very, very careful with all these things. And the problem is that when you're being attacked, 20% don't even know it, which is crazy. Yeah, when you ask some IT teams, a little bit more technical, what happens? How does this happen, right? Most of them will say phishing emails. That's the common exposure. The second one is software exploits, like the one I said, outdated software. And believe it or not, it's people. It's your internal staff, it's your contractors, it's your visitors. Make sure you have a guest Wi-Fi. Nobody can connect to your private network. Make sure that you train your employees. There's two kinds of training, actually. Number one is mandatory training. You send them an email saying, hey, you got to do this class. It's mandatory. You have to pass it. And the second one is actually attacking your network, attacking your employees, sending them emails such as Brad Pitt got married again, right? Everybody wants to know who he got married with, right? And you're going to click on it, and then you're clicking the wrong thing. And when you click the wrong thing, you're signing out automatically for training. So you do that, or you trick your CFO or your financial team or accounting team, sending them emails from Bank of America, or in this particular case, I think, right? And when they do that, they're like, oh, it wasn't I think, my bad. Insecure wireless network, I discussed this before. It's just making sure that you have the good protocols, you separate the Internet of Things, that you create a guest Wi-Fi, that the guest Wi-Fi, it's very simple, right? If you have an open guest network, you don't want to do that either, because if let's pretend that somebody goes into that guest wireless and you don't have any security, and then they start trading, I don't know, child pornography, then you're out of luck. You're going to be a target, and the law enforcement is going to show up to your office and say, hey, this IP shows, this address shows that you're sharing this kind of material. So you have to make sure that you're protected about those things. And the other problem is that they don't know what they have. A lot of companies, they have so many things connected and they don't even know what it is, which is a problem. So why will admins be worried about that, right? Out of 10 admins, 4 of them, they worry because they don't even know where the consumption is coming from. They have so many devices that they don't even know what's connected. Because nowadays everything gets connected, right? Your mobile phones, your Apple Watch, your iPads, everything gets an address. So that's the problem. They have to make sure that they are able to control that. So like I said, time for a different approach. The basic approach is that you have different vendors work the different things. We really think that you should look cybersecurity as a system, that it's one technology, it works together, and it's managed centrally. So that's kind of like the way an admin looks like on a day-to-day basis. It should be everything synchronized, one with the other. So in theory, what does that mean, right? It means that everything sees each other. And in theory, these are like the 8 things that you need to protect and cover at the end of the day. Your firewall, that's just most people will call it the router or the firewall. That's how your office, that's how you protect the physical perimeter of your office data. Now, a lot of the companies that we go in and they'll say, yeah, we got good protection. Just make sure you got good protection, because most of the companies that we go in, they have like a good patio door. And we all know patio doors are great, but they're great for bugs and water. If somebody really wants to kick it in, they're going to kick it in. And a lot of companies, they do have a steel door, and it's great, but the steel door is open. So what's good to go to the bank with a nice steel door that's protecting all your money or gold, and then the steel door is wide open, right? So you don't want to do that either. Wireless, make sure that you're protecting your wireless, that you have a policy that allows like guests, like you go to Panera Bread or Starbucks, they make you click a waiver saying that you're responsible, they're not liable, that kind of thing. Your email, you have to have a few things. Number one is security, spam control, so that those emails that are pretending to be somebody else don't go in. Making sure that you have archiving systems, especially if you're in some compliance industries like legal, medical, you want to have that. What does that mean? Every single email sent and received, it's stored for legal compliance. Making sure that you have the ability to encrypt emails. We've worked with a local government agency, and we encrypt all the emails automatically. And what is that, right? It's kind of like the bank, right? They send you a statement. You never get the statement. You never get the PDF on the email. You have to log into a back end with the credentials to get that. Same thing. We spoke about web. Make sure that you have that content filtering, which it's the culture that we discussed. Encryption, it's very, very easy. It's just, that's the physical protection of your computers and devices. Apple does a fantastic job encrypting. There's actually been cases that the FBI or the CIA goes to them and say, hey, can you unencrypt this device for us because we need to get it, and they won't do it, right? So make sure that you're encrypting. What does that mean? Basically, if you go to Starbucks or you leave your computer in your car and somebody steals it, now they have access to everything. It's very easy. They take that drive from the computer, they connect it somewhere, and now your information's there. But if you encrypt it, they need that key, right? So if they don't have that key, they won't be able to see your family pictures, your financial documents, your personal information, your health records, you name it. Everything's on your machine. Mobile, make sure you have a good mobile device management solution. What does that mean? If you lose your iPhone right now, what would you do? Most people will say, I'm going to go to the Find My iPhone application. Great. But when you go there, it's going to say that I'm going to send you a 6-digit code to your phone. And if you don't have a phone, how are you going to access it? Right? So make sure that you have a good mobile device management, that when you lose your phone or your laptops, that it can be tracked, it can be wiped. A lot of the times there's a lot of confidential information. So you might want to block the camera on an iPhone. So none of your crew, if they're dealing with, like, for example, they're dealing with very confidential documents, you don't want a camera on your systems, right? So you can do that. So those are the things that you have to think of. And then server and endpoint protection, that's just basically making sure that you have the ability to protect your server and PCs. Antivirus, if something happens, that you have some good ransomware protection, that kind of stuff. Again, make sure that you have some synchronized app control. This goes back to what we discussed. A lot of the applications will be there that they don't know what it is. So make sure that you can take care of that. We discussed that earlier. Now I'll just give you a few examples. We're almost done. I know we're probably good on time, but I'll just give you a heads up. I'm going to run 5 or 6 examples, and then we'll get to the questions. This is what I mean with synchronized. So if an application that's not allowed goes on the network, basically the PC or the workstation will not be allowed to access anything. So it goes into an isolation mode. Now, if the application is classified as an allowed application, then the application will allow to be run. Same thing, if I come in on the network and I have malware or some kind of virus on my machine goes into isolation. It will not allow to touch anything until that machine gets clear. Once the machine gets clear, it gets a green go. It gets kind of like the green light to go, and it goes back into the network. That prevents, because most of the viruses, when this happens, they go lateral. So basically it will try to spread to other machines, but if that machine gets isolated, then you're controlling the damage. Okay, wireless, same thing. If you're connected to the wireless and the machine gets malware, it automatically takes it off the network. Mobile device, you can track these devices, as I said, but when you have a fleet of drivers, or for example, those drivers get smart, and they'll say, hey, let's just disable the location so they don't know that we're at 7-Eleven getting a drink. Then we automatically know that that device is not falling. It gets isolated, and you get an alert saying your device has been falling off the security policy. Why? Right? So they will stop all access until they report back, and that device goes green again. Mailbox, same thing. Usually what happens with a compromised mailbox is that it will automatically send thousands of emails. So if they hack my mailbox, the hackers will try to attempt to send hundreds of emails personalizing me to my clients, to everybody on my mailbox, right? So when the system detects automatically that, it blocks all outgoing email for me, and it's going to check all my computers that belong to me to make sure if they're vulnerable. So it's all synchronized talking to each other with this thing called security heartbeat. Same thing, if you click the wrong email, you get identified as a user that's vulnerable, then you get automatically sign up for training. So if you click the wrong thing, you're going for training. You're going to class. You're going to school. And same thing, if you click the wrong website, we'll do the same. At the end of the day, basically the whole goal is to protect your data, and just picture that cybersecurity is a pie and you have multiple layers, you have multiple things that you have to take care of. So at this point, I'm going to ask questions. My ask to you, if you want to have a meeting with me, love it. If you know anybody that can satisfy or be in the needs of these, let me know. If you have any speaker opportunities for me, that would be great. And finally, your questions. This is the point where you can ask questions, if anybody has any questions.
Well, Eric, I'll start while we wait. Can you talk a little bit more about the mobile phone security? Because I know that's
right. So it depends how you want to set it up. At the basic, you want to make sure to locate, right? Like you lose the phone, hey, can you send a message to the phone, or can you block it, right? Or can you track it, right? I don't know where it is, and I can locate it. It says that it's at this address. Do you know this address? Oh yeah, I left that at home. Okay, no problem. But let's say it's gone. I'm here at at a party, and my phone was here with me 2 minutes ago, and now I search it, it's already on 95. So that means either somebody took it by mistake or somebody stole it, right? So at that point, we can lock it and wipe it or anything like that. But you can get us more, like for example, we work with construction companies, and those construction companies, they don't want Netflix on it. They don't want the ability to download any applications. They don't want the ability to, they just want to have their 6 applications. Kind of like when you go to, have you ever been to the Apple store that you go there and you can only do what they want you to do on the phone? It's the same thing. You can allow just 7 applications or 8 applications or as many as you need. And that's it. That's all they can do on those mobile phones. So you can get very secure when it comes to that.
Do you have any other questions for Eric?
What are my fees?
Say something
It's
in
all
the chat.
custom. It's all custom tailored. I provide a. It's kind of like going to the doctor, right? The doctor, you go to the doctor, and the doctor says, you don't go to the doctor. Hey, I have a headache, and the doctor says, oh yeah, you have this. Right? No, he's asking you questions. He needs to check your blood work. He needs to check your MRI or your X-rays. It's the same thing. So we will take the time, do a complimentary assessment for you, and then we'll say, this is where you stand. This is why you need us, or you don't need us at all. You're covered from A to C. So,
Any other questions for Eric?
and then I think, can I share my screen for 2 seconds? Will that be okay?
Yeah.
All right. So at the end, basically, thank you again. Connect with me on LinkedIn, please. That's my contact information. If you want to book a call with me, you can use my Calendly. Basically, book a call at any time. It connects to my calendar, so my calendar is pretty open for you guys. Anything you need, and if anybody wants, like I can do a complimentary dark web scan for you guys and a cybersecurity assessment. If any of you want it, take advantage of it. Just make sure that you tell me that you come from the chamber, and we'll do it for you. I'll stop my share now.
All right, great. Thank you, Eric. There's a lot of great information. And, you know, we use you personally at the chamber, and I know you do a great job. Your team is always very helpful.
I appreciate it.
See if something just came in on the chat box now. All right, so with that, we'll go to the giveaway. Do you want to let them know what they're getting?
So it's a lunch and learn. So I was like, we were talking a little bit earlier, and we were like, let's just give a couple of gift cards so somebody can get some food and actually enjoy a lunch on us. Last year we did it, and it was a great idea, and we got some food for everybody that attended the room. But so we'll give 2 gift cards at $25 so you can get lunch. The only thing is you got to pick a restaurant that's a member of the chamber. That's basically the only thing I ask. Help other of our restaurants in the local chamber. So.
All right, great. Thank you. That's very nice. All right, so we will, let me share my screen, and we'll start the drawing. Okay, you ready? Here we go. First one, Ken, do yourself. Please, are you still on the call, Ken? Eric, I guess you can write them down and,
Yep.
all right, and we'll do one more. Very own Boynton Beach City Commissioner. Are you on the call? Yes. All right, so then Eric, you got those two names. You can follow up with them later. Eric, I'd like to thank you for your presentation today. It was a great information, a lot of valuable stuff we learned. Again, thank you everybody for taking this hour out of your lunchtime today to sit with us and enjoy our lunch and learn. And please look forward to more upcoming events from the Chamber, virtual events. You can do that by downloading our app on the Apple Store or Android platform. And with that, have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Same. Thank you. Have a good day, guys.